Welcome to the Josh Button Podcast, where we discuss health, wellness, and outliers from society. Welcome back to the Josh Button Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jeff McCarrell and Stephen Meuller, co-owners of 90210X Vanity. This Beverly Hills clinic is lighting it up, changing lives, changing physiques, hooking real G's up with what we really want in this short life. And today I can't wait to get into how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and a little bit about each of you. Jeff, thanks for joining me. Steve, thanks for joining me. How about we start there? Who are you guys? Who are you guys? Jeff, you want to start with a little self-introduction?
Yeah, sure. Steve and I are a couple buddies that are into health and fitness, and obviously the way we look and all that good stuff. But the thing is, what we needed was each other. We came up with this idea because I'm the science guy, right? Steve's the business entrepreneur, and the partnership, it seems to be a great thing. But my background is in the natural products and nutraceutical and pharmaceuticals. All right. I went to University of Miami, Detroit State, degrees in biochemistry, physiology, and nutrition, and several certifications. And I've been doing this almost 30 years. I built a company called Nutrex. I brought liquid cap technology to the industry, right? The whole concept was to get better products to people at a higher rate, better availability. And the company did very well, and then, things happen, life happens, things like that. And fortunately, Steve and I hooked up and said, hey, let's try to change some lives, get people better, get healthier. After a long battle with cancer, I learned that we have to educate ourselves. We have to go out and look what's best for us because we're all different. And and once you get educated, you find out you have the ability to change your physique. And that's what Steve and I want to do. We want to change people's lives, get their life back like I got mine back. And that's how we got started. Steve, you want any comments?
Self-confidence, stuff like this even, we're into pumping you up, but putting you on a path to succeed. Because a lot of people are like, well, I've been doing this for years. Well, if it's not working, switch gears.
Right.
I switch gears every 60 days for the effects or goals. Let's call it goals that I want. So we're taking the same approach with our clients and putting some science behind it. Jeff's good with that area of why you're taking it and what it's doing to you and what it could be the effects of it, negative or positive. What risks are you taking, if any, But I know if you're 60 pounds overweight and you take that 60 pounds off, your body's running a lot cleaner.
Right.
So balancing yourself, right, Jeff? Balancing yourself first and then building off of that is kind of where, I'm trying to get the clients and our target.
Right. Well, the other thing is this: in today's world, I mean, most of Americans are so obese and unhealthy, and we don't realize we're doing it to ourselves. And I'm a great example of it. Even while fighting cancer, because the prednisone and all the other medications that have these side effects, you're getting an indirect damage being done while you're trying to fix yourself, and that's the problem. And what we're trying to do, and what I'm going to tell you, our goal is to streamline education, streamline the products, and the proper administration. A great example is I had a client who was seeing a doctor, and Steve might remember this. His test levels were 1,300, but yet he's only doing a small dose. Well, the doc had him using Deca with it, right? Or Nandrolone or an undecanoate ester. Well, these things, when you do a test level or blood test level to check what those levels are, the number's skewed because the doctor added in something that inhibits his natural production and will skew the test to make it look like his numbers are higher than what they really are. And listen, the average consumer doesn't know this. The patient doesn't know this. They walk into a doctor's office and tell this. They walk out. They call Steve and I. We read their blood work and go, wait a minute. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Great example. Why aren't you taking magnesium instead of this thyroid medication? Why aren't you taking some methylated minerals instead of this medication? Sometimes it's a very simple fix.
Or even biotin. I just heard from our Doc Montesano that biotin, because he asked me about my test levels and how long I've been taking testosterone. I told him 22 years, just as I was 22.
Yeah.
48. He's like, you got to stay on it. And I said, I don't have a problem with it. My results and my effects are good. But he said, do you take biotin? And I said, yeah, with my long locks, I do take biotin.
Mm-hmm.
And it will skew the test reading. So
Yep.
you're instructed for a couple of weeks to clean off a biotin, clean your body out, do all the things we should do,
Right.
water it up, so.
Right. So what we're talking about is like people get on TRT, testosterone, replacement therapy, or they get on stem cell treatment, or they get on some kind of weight loss thing, which we all know weight loss is the biggest category by far. But it's also probably the biggest area that the average consumer fails, the average American, that is.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we are still an over 60% obesity population here in the U.S. I mean, we're over 62.
Which is crazy with what we kind of know now.
Yeah.
Or how quickly you can Band-Aid it and balance, right?
Well, Josh, I think that's exactly what we were talking about is people now can get on the internet. They can get educated. The problem we have is that because of the internet, Google, whoever, Facebook, I don't care who they are, they still monitor everything goes on. You're going to get certain things on there. Okay. And then of course, it also allows all the bootleg people who are making junk to be able to go over there and advertise. And that's some of the biggest problem. Like we complain about the FDA, we complain about the DEA, we complain about the FTC, but in reality is all you got to do is do the right thing. Do it the right way. If you're making product, make sure you have a proper clean room. If you're administering product, make sure you have the and have the proper protocols. That's all. And I've been all over this country, all over this world, looking at labs and facilities in my career, and you'd be surprised who gets away with what and who does what. I mean, let me just say,
money talks. Like we were saying, before, if you do have the money and the resources to put into it, then you can formulate the results you want ahead of time.
Right.
To market what you want to sell the most.
Exactly.
So I'm sure that there's a little bit of muddy waters in all of the cleanliness, all of the other areas of these facilities when they're not allocating all the funds to all areas evenly. And they're worried about one side more than the other. But first of all, congratulations to both of you on the partnership. Congratulations to you for beating cancer. That in itself is an achievement. But when you got into this, who did you first see that needed these results or that you were actually going to be able to reach, especially there in Beverly Hills? I mean, I think that's one of the most vain, in you can put it in your name, vain markets in the country. Probably don't have the obesity in Beverly Hills that we have in the rest of the country, but you definitely have a clientele there. So who is it? Who's coming to you guys?
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why we picked this launch location, let's call it, was to get a little bit of a higher end. Maybe people that even aren't, you want to say that obese, but maybe with their goal, they are. So they even go to another level. You get to your base level, I always call it, and then we go up from there. And you always either revert back to your base, something good you can go off of. I try to get people to a good base, get that extra weight off, get that muscle that even if you lose it all, you got some medium shirts and some large shirts. My body will fluctuate. I'll buy 2 shirts every time I shop. Because sometimes I want it to be a certain, or it's not there.
Yeah. Well, I think, Josh, also the thing is we kind of launched this thing on semaglutide and TRT and things like that. And let's be, like you said, you're talking Beverly Hills, the most vain place in the country. Okay. Why we call it 90210X Vanity, right? It's a great area where people will constantly care about how they look, how they fit, how they're fit, and all that. I think I'm down in South Florida now because we think that's definitely the next one. I mean, if you can think of 2 greater places to launch, Miami and LA, what's better, right? Yeah. So the big plan is absolutely to encompass all this, but that's not even the kicker. The kicker is we're bringing technologies and things. I promise you, just wait. In 4 to 6 months, you'll see some of the most advanced medical delivery system and nutraceutical system ever. And I know I'm just talking right now, but you'll be amazed what it could do, and that's what we're really excited about. But other than that, we're real excited to be on our way.
got me excited because there's things I didn't understand or know, and now that I do, I can put the thoughts together in my mind why we're doing it, and what it's going to help,
Right.
or maybe not taking an injection and you're getting still the right delivery, absorption rate, things like that. This is where Jeff comes in, which it's really made it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because how do we make it bigger, faster, stronger?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think about this, Josh. How would you like to build for example, I think we were talking about your dad, right? And his
Right.
health issues. How would you like to be at a point where he can receive medications that either he can absorb it by drinking it, or a nasal spray, or anything other than sticking a needle in it? Okay. And just so you know, the only reason the FDA has this big regulatory problem is when you're breaking the skin. Okay. When you're sticking a needle in somebody, you're immediately violating any FDA regulatory. Okay. But if we can start delivering medications, the simple thing is testosterone through liquid cap delivery or this other delivery, we can deliver testosterone orally. If you look into studies back in the 1950s, the Germans were doing it in the 40s, to be honest with you. Okay. With a testosterone product, a base product. But the point is, there is ways to deliver things without somebody sticking a needle in them. Well, why doesn't Big Pharma like that? Well, that cuts out the whole system. Think about that. Now, if you can actually take a compound, show that it's naturally occurring, okay, in the body, right? It falls under DASHA, the DASHA Act, okay? And you can absorb it orally, nasally, or through your skin. It's now not under FDA rule. Okay. Unless you're using what's called an API, an active pharmaceutical ingredient. Okay. But in this case, because of the delivery systems and some things that we're offering, Steve's got some great products he wants to talk about, but this is the difference. The difference is making life easier, making it more convenient, and for people to get results so their physiques can change. That's the purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always had go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I always had an issue with injections themselves, because, I mean, the rationale that I had just thinking about it on the surface level is that you're breaking the Hippocratic Oath, right, when you put a needle into somebody most of the time, if you don't know for sure.
Right. That's a great example.
It's a little bit of perplexing in the ideology, and I guess is what you would call it. But go on, Steve.
No, I actually forgot what my point was, but back to some of that, like as far as the needles, like you're either needle shy or afraid, or you're not.
Right.
A lot of our clients, I've gotten them used to it, giving them tips of how to do it. Even my wife, she's on a transformation of 60 days that I haven't seen, and we've been lifting for a few years together, and she just decided to turn it up, and we add some of the special sauces, as we call them, for her goals. I can't even believe it.
Well,
but
this will revolutionize kind of the thought process for people that are out on an island, so to speak, or landlocked in the middle of the country, people that don't have access to premier doctors or to people that actually know what they're doing, who are willing to put them through cycles or recommend any other alternative health or therapies.
Yep.
Because there is that, I think, block, this mountain to overcome of just taking needles, pulling meds, and giving yourself a shot.
Right. That if you're educated, there's not as much fear. Maybe you get a little bit before you slap and stick, But if we could like with Jeff and his sciences, his technologies, if we could deliver it another way, then everybody gets a benefit. And this is the thing too. Once people start seeing progress, then they'll be like, you know what? I'll get the needle in me. If the nasal was working or this was working, it's the lifestyle.
Right.
And what do you got? There's always a sacrifice. So a freaking needle, I got over it at 22.
Well, I think anytime in anything you educate people, it takes the fear out of things. All right.
Yeah.
Open their mind to try other things. And that was the whole concept of liquid cap. It was to, a lot of people understand how much you can absorb through the stomach wall. The stomach wall's got the lymphatic system is connected to the stomach wall, right? You can absorb things lymphatically, gets into the bloodstream, bypasses the liver first pass. You get a second pass, but you don't get that destructive pass. What does that mean to the consumer, Josh? Honestly, you get an intact molecule in the bloodstream, right? That hasn't been safe, that hasn't been destroyed by the intestinal tract, right? Or the gut or the jejunum, whatever. The duodenum, that's the difference. Now, take these other compounds like methylene blue, for example, a product that we sell. The methylene blue feeds oxygen to mitochondria. Well, mitochondria are like the worker bees in the body, right? These guys are like the ants that build the ant farm in about 2 seconds. They rock and roll. So anytime you can provide energy to something that actually makes your body do what it does, right? All those functions, all those balance, exactly. And again, putting your body in a proper balance. When I finish chemo,
to really get the results of the other stuff that you want to add, whatever your goal is.
Well, and I think in biochemically, we try to be more synergistic. We have a patient, Ben, friend of Steve's, known a long time. His wife is a great example. She's been on thyroid medication her whole life. Well, as I've looked into more and more thyroid medication and things are out there, and I know somebody's been going on the internet saying, take this, take that, you don't need thyroid medication. That's great. My girl's mom doesn't have her thyroid, for example, right? And at the end of the day, if any of these people would look into the different minerals that you can take and feed the T4 to T3 conversion, which is what makes the thyroid go, okay? Makes your thyroid function. Would you take a medication like Synthroid or a pill that once you get on, you'll be on probably the rest of your life? Or would you just take a mineral that, one, you get from your food, but two, we're going to make sure it's delivered properly so it gets where it has to go? I think that's where that's
the effects. Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
The no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer. I know that's probably a simplistic version. I think like TRT, in our case, putting andriol or testosterone in a liquid cap, you take a pill once a day, first thing in the morning, a capsule, or methylene blue. And like Steve said, if we educate and people can do injections and they do it, like you said, they either have no problem with it or they absolutely have a problem with it. You rarely find the middle of the road.
Right.
I think with some of the applications that we're looking to do, some of the delivery systems we're looking to do, you get to overcome all that.
If they want to see more results, and when they already get into the lifestyle, I think it brings you more open mind. It's like if you didn't like needles, but you want that Botox because you're getting, you know what I'm saying? Like it pulls them over, man.
Right.
And then like my wife with her with the needle, it was at first, and now it's like nothing. You know what I mean? And it's just
so I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, example, most of the states, for example, for years, you had to have a script to get insulin needles, to get any kind of needle, right?
Right.
And that's all changing now. We can thank Amazon.
Miami.
Except, I don't know, LA is probably pretty good.
You just need two sentences in Spanish.
Yeah.
In Miami, you need two sentences in Spanish.
Right. I think that the changing times and with the digital, technical area that we have now, we can educate people. They can get resources, which are our products or the things they need to do the application. And in the end of the day, they can get to people like us through you by asking questions, and we'd love to help them. I think that one of the things that we do, and I spend my whole day looking at blood work and people, every from 79-year-olds all the way to 12-year-olds. But I don't do anything under 12, by the way. But that's pediatrics. I'm not very good at that. But
there was a kid not that long ago who got all jacked up at that age, and then revisit
that. And his parents should be shot.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You didn't see that kid?
What
that was
were
all
they giving him? Growth hormones?
No, he had been training since he was 5, I think. And they would give him. Yeah, he used to go they used to have him they had him at the Arnold Classic, like signing autographs. Yep. This kid, come on, man. He's not a kid. He acts like his parents. I think he comes from somewhere, one of the Eastern Bloc countries. He's from Europe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, they called him Little Hercules.
Hercules.
That was him. Little Hercules.
God bless him.
But I got to meet him a few times, but very interesting young man. But let's be honest, man, you're putting I mean, who knows what his health is now, what he looks like now. I mean,
He doesn't look like
right.
that. He definitely he slimmed down. He's got a normal body, normal
He looks
frame.
healthy at least,
Who
though.
knows? I don't know. He looked better when he was little Hercules, but that's just my
Well,
opinion.
a great example is that not using proper dosing, not doing things the right way, not coming
Right.
off things the right way, and going back on things the right way.
Especially when your liver's still growing and
Right.
stuff like that. Like,
Your whole body, right?
Right.
yeah, you're not even really
Right.
formed yet, and you're going to start making things possibly grow or burn, or I don't know. I mean, like I said, you want to balance it with the science part of it. That's why it's good, with Jeff and even the doctors, they have questions. Our doctors have questions for Jeff because why? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a teamwork thing. I learn every single phone call, or every time we do something like this. That's why I want to do more of these, because we learn, we get the education out there, and then honestly, I take everything that we supply. I try all my products.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Steve definitely is my guinea pig.
Yeah.
So
I feel awesome.
So Steve knows I'm really into jujitsu. I train at a pretty strong gym here in Hollywood, and I've trained at a couple gyms where it was professionals, a lot of young competitors, very competitive, strong people. And now I definitely have a circle of people that I know are around my age or not even close to my age that have already started getting on the bone, to just full cycles, gone for it, had T replacement and all of these things. And one of my personal, I wouldn't say it's not a fear, but it's just something that I haven't been open to yet because I haven't felt like I needed it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that time is coming.
Okay.
And I can't help but think that some companies are popping up now that are marketing to people like myself.
Oh, absolutely.
That
We're getting into the BKFC because the fighters with the exosomes, they need that sort of cut you off.
Right.
They need to fight the next month to get that check.
Right.
Going from Florida to Cali. None McGregor just bought them. You know what I'm saying? They bought a big piece of it. So we're going to start getting on the fighters big time. And jiu-jitsu, come on, you guys are rolling. You guys are rolling around, man.
Yeah.
Well, you're also dealing with a lot of people who have that window, and they see that window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller for their own TT production, and they are going for it. But I think they're getting introduced to companies who are not serving up needles and cycles, that are actually playing with terminology just a little bit, bioprotein tech and these other things that are literally giving you kind of a similar product, but are marketing, like, obviously if you're on Instagram for 5 minutes and you look at any one thing, you're going to get 20 of those. Right. But I've seen it popping up recently.
What they do is they mess with the milligrams, right, Jeff? Like, that's how they're doing their. Well, they get it for $29.99. Well, read between the lines, and you got to.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You're getting 5 mLs and 50, 100 milligram stuff. Look, some companies. My thing is this: that the some of the what's a better word, BS that's out there. They and again, we're talking about the digital world.
We teach our clients though.
Right. That's what the difference is. We teach our clients.
$29 and ours isn't, because this is
right. We give them. You're getting educated on how to do it, how properly, what not to do, what to mix with it. Like, example, a great example is you, Josh. You're doing jujitsu. You want to recover better. You want to make sure you're going in and training harder. Get your physique right. The question is, the person that's doing that for you, they're adding all that to you. They even understand what you're dealing with. They understand your output, right? I mean, what is your BMI? What's your pulse ox? I mean, have you had a CBC or a comp panel, any of that done? But what I don't get is how these guys put products out, recommend a certain thing, but they know nothing about the patient, right? They know nothing about their customer.
It's essentially mail order.
Right. And the bioidentical and biologics that are out there now, like stem cell, like Steve talked, we have access to the one that we're going to be giving our patients is 2 trillion parts, not 200 million. The difference is a treatment that, one, it'll be a little cheaper. It's a little cheaper, not much cheaper, but the difference is that you can do it once a month, twice a month, whatever. The point is, it's going to stimulate your own stem cells to heal. All right. My girl has a herniated disc in her neck. she did a stem cell treatment. She couldn't even move her arm, couldn't lift her arm even. We went to the surgeon, thought she was going to have surgery. She did the PDPA, which is the 2 trillion, and her arm's fine. I mean, she has little issues here and there, and
I got
she'll
fighters that are like, dude,
right.
I can't even believe it.
Did she do that here in the States, or did
no,
you go somewhere
we
else?
did it right
it,
here in
or?
our house. I mean, because I gave the application. I can give her the dose, but we did it right on the couch. I mean, what's better?
Awesome.
And again, having access to things you need, the IVs, the needles, whatever. Now, we did IV there. What's great about this, the PDPA version, it can be done in a push. Okay, you can do it sub-Q.
Yeah.
You can put it intramuscular. Okay, that's the difference. You don't necessarily have to go and get a treatment from a doctor with an IV. Mm-hmm. You can treat the injury. You can treat the site. I do it. I've had cancer, as you know, and I had a tumor build up and they cut it out. Long story short, I had a hole, Steve can tell you, about the size of a softball inside of my leg. Started putting the PDPA, the stem cell stuff we use, into it. Now it's down to nothing.
Started fucking closing up.
It's amazing. And I'm doing 1.5 miles every morning.
The penis shot, they call it. The penis shot, the hairline.
Yeah.
I mean, if my fighters with the wrist, it's unbelievable how quickly it works. But I got doctor buddies with knees that are like, can't believe it. Jeff, he'll attest. Now his woman. So
the whole concept is this, that you got to look at all the big picture. When I first came off all the medications, all the stuff, and everything from, Steve would tell you, everything from opiates to chemo, right? When you go to detox yourself, I'm one of those guys, I look at it at a whole nother level. My girl's vegan, right? So the first thing, she's like, get down here from Orlando, brings me in, I start eating vegan too. Now, it's just, for me, to turn around and recommend something for somebody or doing something, I got to do it myself. I got to see how it works on me and, what it feels like,
And what does it feel like for you?
Listen, my waist went from like 38 something. I'm just at 30 right now. And it's been 7 weeks. It's 7 weeks. Amazing what it does, man.
He FaceTimed me at one point, Josh, and I couldn't even believe.
He couldn't believe the same guy. Yeah.
I was like, it took me off for a second, because I was like, wow, man, it just rejuvenated him. Yeah. The whole, he's back on his A.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to revisit me with this conversation in about a year.
Yeah. That's how long it took.
It was about a year. It was about a year of vegan before I was like, what the hell is going on? And yeah, that was honestly the only time in my life where I wasn't ultra motivated to be out working, to be out grinding, to be going for it consistently. Once about 8-9 months got in, maybe up to a year, then I started noticing all kinds of things, and I was like, all right, something's going on. And the first bite of a cheeseburger I had at a year and a half in, I was crying, man.
What?
Crying.
Yeah.
Crying. My body had craved the nutrients so bad, the protein so bad, the real nutrition, that like literally my mouth was salivating, my eyes were watering. I was working with a couple teenagers, and I was sitting across the dinner table from them, and they go, "You all right?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm not. I don't know what's going on, but this cheeseburger is the best thing I've eaten in my entire life."
It was everything, man.
I couldn't.
Yeah. Well,
I couldn't look back.
That's a great example of, not everybody's built to be vegan. I understand that, you know what I mean? And the end of the day, we need certain things, protein. And if I was working with you during that time, or even if my girl, she's a nutritionist, if she was working with you, she would tell you the same thing. You can up the protein, but first thing I would tell you is you probably should have used some creatine. You probably should have took an iron supplement.
Yes.
You know what else? Sure. My gut health. Yeah. As far as leaky gut, it took me a while to overcome that, and I don't know if I would attribute it just to the dietary changes or to the fact that I was an alcoholic, a drug user, and all of these extenuating circumstances, which I ended up going through processes of giving up the things that were killing me,
Not
and
serving you.
adding in the things that were adding in the things that were
Well,
serving me.
alcohol is notorious for that, right? You know that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple glasses of wine.
I was drinking
not bad.
I was drinking I was drinking a 12-pack a day.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, there you go, buddy.
Destroying me.
My dad's probably been doing it, I don't know how many years now, but same thing, same problem. But the thing about, look, I think dietary needs are dietary needs. Everybody, and this is what I love about biochemistry and physiology, is that everybody's different. Everybody absorbs things different. Listen, I spent my career, most people tell you if they heard I'm vegan now, I spent my career bashing vegans and veganism. I did. I spoke at a GNC convention and just ripped into a vegan lady there, and gave her 100 different reasons why it don't work. I will tell you, for me, it was
a cow in your fridge.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Once in a while, I need some fish or tuna or something or up my protein. You know what I mean? But now,
no eggs.
No eggs at all.
No, nothing.
Nah.
I get 120 eggs a week.
I got to tell you, listen, if I felt really bad and I looked bad and I would probably say, okay, the only thing I can feel right now as I start training again is that I need a little more protein. Now, the question is, people talk about bioavailability, they talk about food, meats, things like that. The reality is that the body has different absorption rates based on what's in that. Okay. How they receive it, what's in it, what it entails. I personally like tofu, does nothing for me. Right. But like she makes me spaghetti bolognese, which I got to tell you something, I don't notice the difference. It tastes like.
But the soy, the tofu is high in soy?
I know, but here's the difference.
It's the cancer, right?
Yeah, you can manage the estrogen, right? You can manage. Okay. There's things you can do to manage estrogen. There's things you can do to manage your iron. Things to do to manage your creatine uptake or your nitrogen retention, whatever you want to call it.
Eggs do the same thing with estrogen, correct?
Eggs are very estrogenic. You know what I mean?
You want to take some sort of
if you want to do it natural, you take something like Chrysin or something like that. If you want to do a pharmaceutical, I tell people to use Novadex or tamoxifen citrate, anywhere from 40 to 60 milligrams. But you can also do Arimidex. All right, and Arimidex, half a milligram every third day, fourth day, whatever, it would be fine. But remember now, one's an estrogen blocker, the last one, Arimidex. Both those first two are estrogen blockers. The last one is an estrogen inhibitor. Okay, so it's going to shut down all estrogen production in your body.
Which is the aromatase?
That's the anti-aromatase. Yes. Yeah. And this is the problem, is that even when you're using testosterone, men, you get large amounts of testosterone. Your body's only going to utilize so much. And then the rest is converted to estrogen or dihydrotestosterone, DHT, which causes male pattern baldness. Right. Yeah. And other guys have problems with DHT. You'll find their prostate, urinary problems, things like that. When you have a large amount of 4-alpha reductase enzyme in your body, a lot of guys produce large amounts of it, some don't. All right. The testosterone will convert to estrogen. And then that estrogen is going to turn around and find the alpha-2 receptor, and it's going to bind to it. And that's why women have fat on their hips and behind their arms, men have around their midsection. It's science, but it's not too hard to manipulate metabolic pathways, right? We can do that. And what's great about it is, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you see a correlation there when men's bodies start these maladaptations that almost have feminine traits to actually cancers and other disease?
Yeah. Well, think about this, Josh. The answer is yes. Here's the question though. Do you remember when cancer research found out that sugar feeds cancer, simple sugar, right? You guys know, I mean, think about how long it took for us to determine that. Or did it take us that long, or did it just not get put out?
Right.
Okay. Because the number one produced thing in this country are carbohydrates, sugar. Number one. Right. Some of the richest companies in our country are sugar companies. They produce crap sugar, let's be honest. Okay.
And subsidized to
and
hell and back.
subsidized. Exactly. And if they're subsidized, what's that tell you? I tell people all the time, if you're not buying
High
organic,
fructose corn syrup.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
kills
Wait a
it.
minute.
It's
Soy
never
is
in my
pretty
house.
subsidized now.
Soy is what?
Soy is pretty subsidized
It
now.
is. Soy is subsidized now. I know.
Corn, sugar subsidized.
Right. He's right. It's funny. We just read some on that. But the issue is the question is that if big pharma is involved, big government's involved, like you said, subsidizing is going on. Are we really getting what's best for us? Are we getting what's best for the almighty dollar? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when ephedra was banned, I did 22 interviews that day, right? Every major network, major network on the planet. Okay. You can look it up. And here's the thing. Every single time when I got on Bullseye on MSM or CNBC with, at that time, the Secretary of Health, Tommy Thompson, my point was he recited a report that wasn't accurate. It was the RAND report on ephedra, which my scientists under my company actually executed. So I know what the numbers are. Obviously, it was my stuff they were using, right? So he gets on there and says, "Oh, we found up to 160 milligrams is unhealthy and cause heart." It was absolutely wrong. We found up to 160 milligrams was completely safe. More people died on a roller coaster that year than they did ephedra. Okay.
Right.
I was just having this conversation about hydroxycut back in the 90s. Running around a restaurant drinking coffee and down in hydroxycut tabs just to whiz through.
Right. And that was actually ephedra seneca, the herbal form they used back then, or Ma Wang actually I think they used initially. See, when I did Lipo 6 in the liquid cap, we used synephrine hydrochloride. We used yohimbine hydrochloride. Now, these are all naturally occurring, yes, okay? But we used the synthetic version of them because we wanted the quick, effective, low-dose delivery, okay, and the hit. Because at the end of the day, you want results, right? We'll say, well, it was made synthetically, it's not naturally. Well, you do understand that science allows us to mimic molecular structures, right? We can literally mimic it, pull a compound, see what's in it. We can I can pull a product on the shelf and reverse engineer it.
Which is exactly what was wrong with the ephedra ban, because then China started going one molecule off of all of these compounds and shipping it in every other form that was readily available to them for as long as they were legal.
Right, as they were legal.
Right?
Yeah, it's like the fake cannabis that was on the shelf. You know,
MDMA,
MDMA. Yeah,
you got people.
Right, exactly.
Zombie drugs.
You know, and there's a product out right now that it's a drink. It's gotten very popular. I've been watching it pretty close, and it's just carbonated water, right? But you are putting carbonated water into an aluminum can, and you're having somebody drink carbonated water out of an aluminum can and calling it this product that's something else. But you know, you don't see the FDA messing with them. They don't see them messing with them.
Pop their name out there, but wash their name out there.
It's something death.
Celsius?
It's something. No, it's something death.
The death one. Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. My lawyer would probably say, don't say that. But you know, But we're talking. The whole idea here is that people are educated now. People have access to resources. They have access to information. And there's people like me who've been through the hell and back, you know, and Steve too. We're just at the point now where enough's enough. When does the public get to take care of themselves? Which, I'll be honest with you, semaglutide is a great example. The weight loss drug that everybody's using. Okay, I understand why they want to why you have to manage it and regulate it, because it is an API. You know, it's a pharmaceutical drug. Okay, and I'm okay with that, and it has to be used by injection. But let me ask you something. Why not allow guys like me to turn around and do it at lower dose, put it in a delivery system that isn't going to cause all the problems they're going to have, piggyback it with something like Steve talking about methylene blue and things like that, which is what we're doing. We're doing things differently. Okay. And I think that's where I think we'll stand out. And I think that's where we have an opportunity to do really well.
Well, that would just interfere with super high profit drugs. No.